Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain. Here we are, Season 1, Episode 1. You are starting from the very beginning, and I'm so glad you're with me. My name is Sean Hershey, LCSW, which stands for Licensed Clinical Social Worker, and this is my podcast. We are here to talk about healing from chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and chronic conditions using psychological and emotional modalities. And I just need to tell you, I've been saying in my head for like a year that I want to make a podcast. I want to make a podcast. And I've been saying out loud for several months, like, oh, I'm going to make a podcast. I'm going to make a podcast. And then I keep not making a podcast. But look at me now. Hi. Look what I'm doing now. I am finally starting my podcast, and I'm so glad that you're here and you're listening. And I mean, my prayer and hope for this podcast is that it really, really helps you in your healing. Because yes, healing from chronic pain is possible, and I should know. So who am I? Like I said, my name is Sean Hershey. I'm a chronic pain therapist. I've been a therapist for 10 years. Um, I do this work myself. So I am very much a client and a therapist in the world of chronic pain work. Oh, and there's so much. I'm like, where do we start? Like, there's so much to talk about. But for today, the real purpose is I want you to start to think like, can you trust me? I want you to start to get to know me and get to know my voice and get to know my style and my way of teaching and my way of helping people with chronic pain so that you can decide, like, is this good for me? Now, I want to encourage you as you're listening. Yes, you. I want to encourage you to really tune into yourself as you're listening to me, because inside you, just like inside all of us, there is like truth, there is intuition, there is like a core animal self that most of us with chronic pain, and I am speaking from personal experience when I say this, most of us with chronic pain are very, very cut off from that. In fact, we most of us have learned at some point in our life that the self, like the animal of ourselves, the intuition, the seed of knowledge, the center of ourselves, is in some way dangerous or in some way threatening. And therefore, we should tune out of that and just try to act like everybody else, or just take our cues from the external environment, because that is a whole lot safer than taking our cues from the internal environment, because the internal environment is not acceptable. So that's the conditioning that, we will get into, of course, like why that would lead to chronic pain if that doesn't make sense already. But we're healing, and let's try to let the real, authentic animal of your body and yourself sit in the front seat with us today. And I want to encourage you to listen to my voice from that part of yourself and ask that part of yourself, how's this landing? Do you trust him? Is this for me? That's how I want to encourage you to go into listening to this first episode. So I'm thinking there's going to be multiple different people who get to this podcast, some of whom this will be your first exposure to mind body medicine for chronic pain, in which case I'm like, hey, welcome. That's awesome. I'm so glad you found this. And there's a whole world for you to explore, and you can get better. Whatever condition you're dealing with, you can get better. So welcome, welcome, welcome. The second group of people that I'm imagining might be drawn to this podcast, which I think I sort of feel might be more common, is people who need to hear about chronic pain recovery through emotional and psychological modalities from more people in order to really believe it. Um, you've read Dr. Sarno. You've read Nicole Sachs's new book that just came out. You have done journaling. You have, you read Alan Gordon's book. You've tried somatic tracking. You've listened to a lot of success stories. You've seen a lot of YouTube videos. And you need more. You need to hear it from more people in order to believe, which is totally okay. I 1,000% get that. And I will be here as another voice saying like, yep, this stuff works. And then I guess the last bucket of people who I think might be drawn to this show is I'm thinking about people who are um this is like weird for me, but I'm like, maybe you need to hear it from me. You know? Maybe there's something about my voice or something about who I am or my personality or something about like the way I describe things that'll just land with you in a way that hearing it from other people didn't hit you the same way. Which I'm like, I mean, I will have you know, there are so many really wonderful teachers and practitioners in this space. So I'm like, it's impossible that anyone would ever need to hear anything from me because there's so much wisdom out there. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe, maybe, maybe you need to hear it from me. So here we go. Let me read this. My promise to you as the listener is that I will share clear and correct information about healing chronic pain from my personal experience and my professional knowledge so that you have the education you need and, even more importantly, to provide you with the company of someone else walking this path so you don't have to do it alone. There we go. That's the point of the podcast. That's what we are doing here. First, I'm sharing information so you have the education you need in order to heal. And second, I really want to challenge myself to share myself, like to share myself authentically, share my struggles authentically. Literally, this podcast, I rated it explicit because, if you're healing from chronic pain, like we're going to have to be talking about bodies and body parts. We're going to be talking about trauma. I'm going to use curse words. We're going to be talking about sex. We're going to talk about sexual trauma. Like, we're going to talk about some shit that is explicit. And even though here I am with like, the soothing music and hopefully you find the whole vibe of the podcast soothing and healing. This is explicit. And I want to challenge myself to really be really real with you all about the things that I've gone through, the things that I see clients go through. So we can have a very authentic conversation because none of this needs to be shameful. And so much chronic pain comes from hiding. And so my challenge to myself is like, let's not hide and let's just like, yeah, we rated the podcast explicit and let's just do it. So I am here to really share myself with you so that you can relate to someone and you're not walking this path alone. Okay, so that's the basic point of the podcast. Today, I want to give you so much information. I'm like, where do I even start? Oh my God. But I am going to slow it down. And I'm just gonna, today's just gonna be about me introducing myself and telling you my story. And like I said, I really want to encourage you to listen from your heart, like listen from your body, from the animal that is you, and see what lands. Okay, so let's get into how I got into this. Excuse me. So I'm actually going to start at the end by saying my worst chronic pain symptoms, and I use the phrase TMS, which is tension myositis syndrome or tension myoneural syndrome. If you don't already know what that is, we'll get into that. That's going to be a follow-up episode is what is TMS, so don't worry about that right now. But my worst TMS symptoms were IBS and hip pain. And the IBS, I'm telling you, it is so chill now, and it was bad. Like, I'm gonna get into the story, and you will know. Oh, damn! Like it was bad, and truly, I mean, psychological and emotional work is miraculous. It's truly a miracle that I can sit here. Truly, I hope you're absorbing that. It is truly a miracle that I can sit here and be like, My IBS is so chill now, and it's really chronic IBS is in the rearview mirror. That is over. My other major symptom is hip pain. And the hip pain is like, oh, dude, like, I mean, I have many, many, many moments where it's gone. And then I have many, many moments where it's still there. And I'm like, why? And then that will be followed by more moments where it's gone. So, it is no longer chronic. Doing this emotional and psychological work has helped so much with my hip pain, as well as obviously the IBS. And yet it's still there more so than I know it needs to be, certainly more so than I want it to be. And so I'm on this journey. I'm on this journey with you. And I'm still doing it, you know? I like I said, I am both therapist and client in this work, so I'm still doing it. And I actually I put a lot of pressure on myself to well, I have a TMS personality, so I put a lot of pressure on myself all the time, but I specifically put a lot of pressure on myself to start this podcast now because the more that I do this work, the better my hip gets, obviously, because that's how this goes. And I really want to be a voice in this space who can say like I feel you, like I am working through this, I'm still at the tail end of this, and so I get it. Like the pain sucks and it's so frustrating and it's so annoying. And even if, I mean, for me it's like it's so rare that I have severe hip pain, but I still will have like moderate pain, definitely mild pain, at least a little bit every day. And I'm like, God, why? Why? And so I just wanna say, like, I get it, and I wanna I put the pressure on myself to start this podcast now because I know that a lot of, practitioners in this space, they themselves are, doing pretty well, and it can be a little like, it obviously, that's, you know, awesome, that's great, that's so inspiring, I've drawn so much inspiration from that. And yet it can be a little frustrating to be like, well, looks like this works really well for everyone, but it doesn't work for me. And everyone's better and they're somehow special. And they understand this in a way that I don't. And you know, it's not going to work for me. But I want to say this is working for me. And I know there's more work that it can do for me. And I just wanna say, like, I wanna level with you and be like, "Yeah, I think that kinda shit too." Sometimes I'm like, "This is not gonna work for me. I'm stuck where I am. I've gotten as good as I can get." And then I get a little better. So I just wanna throw that out there as a word of hope. Okay, so we're starting at the end, which is where I'm doing well. I mean, I basically don't have chronic pain anymore, but I still have more pain than I want, and I'm still frustrated by that, and I am with you in your frustration. And I'm also with you in your hope, because, dude, you would not be listening to this podcast if you weren't a little bit hopeful. So, welcome. Welcome to the frustrated. Welcome to the hopeful. Welcome to the parts of you that are hopeless and the parts of you that are hopeful. Let's get into it. So, I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I was born in 1988. So you can do the math. How old is he? Am I older than him or younger than him? You there you go. There's the information you need. And I was raised in uh, an Irish Catholic community. Like, and I went to Catholic school from first grade to 12th grade. And I was a gay, feminine child. Um, and I mean, what my experience of my childhood was that like everyone was so normal and that there was something wrong with me. And it was a very mixed bag because like I mean, my childhood was very traumatizing in that way. Like that is for sure. And yet there was a lot of love. There was a lot of love in my family. There's a lot of love in my school and in my community. And like I was very much I was woven into the fabric of my community. Um and yet I was very out of step and awkward, and there was no like easy place for me to fit in such a like normie um sort of world. So I always felt out of step, always felt awkward, was always like terrified of being bullied, ostracized, hated, and I never really experienced uh like high key bullying. And the reason why, I mean, at least I really believe looking back on it, the reason why is because I really learned how to do two things. First, people please. Second, hide. So both of those things cause a lot. The way you get to people pleasing and hiding is that you have to shove a lot down and keep a lot inside, not be yourself, and really learn that being yourself is threatening. So that was like one of the core tenets of my childhood. For all of you who like have a good understanding of how chronic pain works, you're already nodding your heads, being like, "Yep, I see it. I see where the chronic pain comes from." Um, okay. So and then my family was so I grew up, it was me, my mom, my dad, and my younger brother who's 2 years younger than me. Um And my family was very loving and, very accepting, particularly my mom, like, when my younger brother, he's gay too, and both we're very similar, and when we were younger, like, I still one of my, like, early memories is that because I was very into Disney princesses as a child, and Cinderella was, like, the it girl for me, and I still remember being in, preschool, sitting around a table and saying to the teacher, I know how to spell Cinderella. I'm probably maybe 4 years old at this point. And I remember the teacher, I forget exactly how she said it, but I remember her being like, no, you don't. And I was like, yes, I do. And the teacher was basically like, oh, okay, prove it. And so there I was, Cinderella. And I can still picture we were sitting at one of those like little kidney shaped tables like in a corner, and I can still picture her reaction. Like the face was like, "Oh wow, he can spell Cinderella. Damn." Like she was clearly a little shocked at my precociousness, but that was the kind of kid that I was. I was into Cinderella, into Disney princess coloring books, and my mom never shamed me for that, and I'm really, really grateful for that. Like, that was the vibe in my family, was that I like, my mom certainly was never shaming me for things like that. Now, it's funny looking back on that story, I think probably just 2 years after that, 2 years later when at that point I had started St. Mark's, which is a Catholic school, very different vibe from the, like, cute little preschool I had, and St. Mark's was a cute, wonderful place and was also, scary and rigid, and, just a few years after that story where I was proudly, shouting to the hilltops, "I know how to spell Cinderella," it's sad and heartbreaking to know that just a couple years later I would never have said that out loud. Never. Because that part of me was already getting buried under a whole lot of fear. But okay, back to my family. My family was very perfectionistic. And my parents are both like rigid and pretty judgmental and very focused on being good and being good people and their definition of good. And like their definition of good, I would say would be like think about others first, think about yourself second. Be a good person, be kind to other people. Certainly don't be self-centered. Don't be like certainly don't be into money. Don't be don't be like don't focus on yourself. don't certainly vanity is not allowed. Anything that is like materialistic is not allowed. All of those things are bad. If you have urges like that or you think that things like that matter, they shouldn't. You should just be focused on just being good, nice, and kind. Which is like okay. Those are the values that they had. Excuse me. So in that way, my parents were very focused on raising me in a way where they wanted to shape me into being a quote unquote good person by their standards. Much more, they were much more focused on shaping me versus allowing me to just be who I am. Which was a mixed bag, because in some ways, like, in terms of sexuality, well, at that point, it wouldn't even really be sexuality, it would be just, like, gendered interests. Especially my mom was like, she, like, allowed all of that and was like, very, like, "Whatever, I'm not trying to shape you into being more masculine." But when it came to who also, like, grades, my parents weren't, like, super harsh on, like, you need to get all A's, they weren't trying to shape my behavior in that way, um, because they would not have thought of those things as good. It would be only bad parents really care that much about grades and force their kids into doing this, or that. Like, we are good, and so we're just gonna focus on shaping our child into being a good person. And so you see how subtle this stuff can be, like, the way that I came out of that family of origin feeling like I can't be myself, when my parents, like, really tried in so many ways to let me be myself. And yet, this stuff can be really subtle and can have a major impact. I mean, decades of chronic pain, honestly, is what this led to. And when you hear my family origin story and my childhood origin story, in many ways it sounds like lovely and idyllic and wonderful, and we were very privileged. Um and yet it was also traumatic. And how shitty is that? It's like, how much effort does one have to put in to, like, stay away from, like, being forced not to be yourself and allowing other people to be themselves? Like, how hard is it to just allow your children to be themselves and allow yourself to be yourself? Turns out it's really fucking hard. So here we are. Um, but we're healing from this. We are healing from this. So, okay, childhood, and let's get into okay. So when I was a kid, I had headaches, like, always a headache. And this was, at the time, I'm in school, really repressing myself, really scared. Do people like me? Am I going to get bullied? Am I popular? Does anyone care? Do I matter to anyone? And in an environment where, like, everyone's straight and normal and I'm, like, a closeted gay person, it's like, there's no way for me to be, like, the main character and be at the center of things and be like, like, I was a supporting role. I played a background supporting role in my school, and I played a background supporting role in my own life, and that is not like, that's not who I am, and I don't think that's who many people are. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who you are. You know who you are. So let tune into yourself. Tune into that self, that intuition inside you. You know who you are, but I know that, like, that's not who I am. I'm not a scared background supporting character. That's who I learned to be, and it's not authentic. While all that was going on emotionally, I was getting headaches all the time, like, and I still remember thinking, like, "It's the car." We had this, like, uh, I can still remember we had this Jeep, and I can remember, like, what the Jeep smelled like in the rain, and if you went into the Jeep I can still smell, like, the smell was, like, gross, just, like, kind of, like, nasty car smell where the doors have been closed for too long, and, God, I remember, like, that's what causes my headache. That's, oh, this car. Oh, this smell. Oh, my head is always hurting. And, I was always taking, like, child's Motrin. I can still remember what that tasted like. And as I got more into middle school, I remember, like, Just like all the different like painkillers that I took as a kid. Like, wow, that's kind of shocking to look back on. Um, but that sort of faded as symptom imperatives do, and like the emotional landscape of life changes. And as I was in high school, I was a theater kid in high school, and in that way, I learned how to be more myself. And I definitely didn't really have headaches in high school. You know, things changed. Things changed, but life goes on in college. So in college was when uh, TMS really hit me. So I was 19 years old, sophomore year in college. And I went away to college, Beloit College in Beloit, Wisconsin. Great place. If anyone if anyone knows Beloit, hello. Beloit. That's how you spell it. Great place. It was my sophomore year, and I was just about. I mean, I had been in Catholic school where like coming out as gay was brave for sure, and I was not brave enough to do that at that time. And here I am, just about ready to come out to everyone and really authentically be gay. And so there was this morning, spring day at Beloit College they had every year, which was like everybody gets a day off of class and like you get to like do whatever the hell you want. And like the night before is a big like party night. So my friends were like out. And the next morning it's like you wake up on like a Tuesday or whatever it is, which is normally a school day and you have to go to class. But today it's spring day. So like, oh my God, there is no class. Anything goes. So I remember my roommate was not around. It's like bright and sunny in the room, and I'm like stretching and do like I'm that is my thing. Stretching, yoga, I've always been into that. And I'm just like doing my morning thing, feeling good. And then a bunch of my friends and I remember we walked, I don't remember where we went, but we walked really far to go get ice cream. And it's like warm and nice out. It's probably like April, I would guess, is when they would have spring day. And we walk back and it was this very long walk. And that night, my hip starts hurting. And I remember thinking like, oh, and it's my left hip starts hurting. And I remember thinking like, "Oh, that's weird. Obviously, this is from stretching in the morning or from walking all afternoon, and this will get better. Go to sleep, wake up the next day, not better. Go to sleep, wake up the next day, not better. Go to sleep, wake up the next day, not better. This pain became my chronic pain symptom. And it has waxed and waned over the literal decades that I've had it. But I just want you to know the power of this shit. I am sitting here recording this podcast in 2025. My hip still hurts a little bit right now to this day. Isn't that fucking nuts? It's fucking nuts. I just like the power of this stuff. I cannot believe it. The power of emotions in the body, it's real. And I'm telling you, it was not the walk or the stretching that caused this pain. That I know for sure. And I hope that's clear to you. I hope you understand that too. This pain was definitely coming from like how freaked out I was by the fact that like I am about to reveal a huge secret that has kept me really scared and really silent. And this secret has felt like such a huge threat, even though it was obviously not any kind of secret. Like I was pretty clearly gay. Like, hello, welcome to my life. But I was so in denial. I was so afraid. I was so threatened. And the secret was about to come out. And so that was the beginning of, that summer. I remember going to like chiropractors, doing different kinds of yoga, really, really slowing down. I'm like, well, I can't do this. I can't do that. I shouldn't sit for too long. I shouldn't, what were all the, I mean, it's so many years ago. I was 19 years old. I don't even know what all the things I wasn't supposed to do. But my life became a lot more limited because I had something wrong with my hip. So that was my life then. And the hip pain never, like it kind of got a little better. And then I was just like, well, okay, it is what it is. And the next year I studied abroad and I came out as gay. No one was surprised. Shocker. And everything, life moved on. And yet I still had the belief that there was something wrong with my hip. And I still felt like there was a threat there, like something wrong with my body. And so that sense of threat remained. And so the danger signal of the pain remained. So fast forward, but remained subtly, kind of waxing, waning, sometimes hurts, sometimes doesn't, and just like waxing, waning, whatever, fade into the background. But from then on, I thought of myself as having hip problems. And I literally thought they started from like one walk one day when I was 19 years old. Now that I know more about how the body works, I know that's like, let me just tell you right now, injuries heal. Let me say that again. Injuries heal. If you had an injury at age 19 and you're now like a big boy adult like me, like in your 30s or beyond, the pain isn't from the injury anymore. I just want to be very clear about that. We'll get into this as the podcast goes, but I just want to plant that seed because that's not how the body works. But okay, a lot of doctors and chiropractors made me believe that my pain was because there was something wrong with my hip, so I believed that. Then I graduate from college, moved to New York after I graduated and was like, living my adult life for the first time, having a full-time job for the first time, paying actual rent for the first time. Having a full-time job and paying rent for the first time is incredibly stressful, as many people probably know. That was a lot. And during that time, I developed really bad irritable bowel syndrome. And this, ooh, man, like this was the symptom that was really, really fucking bad. I still remember like the early days of my job. I worked for AmeriCorps in a public school in the South Bronx. And I remember I had to, because in college I would like wake up late. It's like now, I mean, I'm a late riser, late to bed. Like that's my natural self. To work at a school, we were getting up early. So I was getting up early and my stomach every morning would just like feel off. Like that feeling where it's like I haven't properly taken a shit yet this morning. I haven't properly like digested my food from last night. Like my stomach, like, ugh, this does not feel right. And so that's how it started. And truly, it was like those first few days I was like, ugh, my stomach is unsettled because I woke up too early and like didn't poop properly. And that was the beginning of honest it was like, it's like, okay, I woke up that morning and, my stomach hurt. That was the beginning of my stomach hurting for, like, literally probably, like, 8 or 9 years. Isn't that nuts? Again, like, the power of the way that emotions land in the body and are expressed through the body. It's powerful. It is powerful, and they can get stuck if you don't know what's going on. And I do just, again, to jump to the end, spoiler alert, I'm sitting here today again at, age 36. It is 2025, and my stomach feels fine. Totally fine. Like, it's literally just there. Like, it feels fine. So there is hope. But okay, so, through my 20s, that was 22, I wanna say? Yeah, that would've been 22 when the IBS started. And then, like, that really freaked me out because it didn't go away, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and I was like, "Something's really wrong with me." Gurgling noises in my stomach all the time, like, bloating, oh my god, the bloating, the pain, just so much discomfort, like, I would just wanna, like I would just want to like curl up and get into bed and be like, everyone leave me alone. Do I want to go out and do this? No. Do I want to go out and do that? God, no. Do I want to have sex? Absolutely no. Especially do I want to have like gay anal sex where I'm bottoming when I'm feeling so fucked up in my digestive tract? Absolutely not. And I just think about like people who don't have severe TMS all through their 20s, like, man, they get to like explore so much and like live a life that is like full and rich and like learning who you are and just like being young in the world. And I just missed out on so much of that. And I know that a lot of you listening relate to that because that's one of the hardest parts about TMS and chronic pain is that like you just have to, when everybody else seems so healthy and so well and they can just use their bodies to like live their lives and you're stuck in bed feeling miserable and um not able to enjoy yourself and not able to be yourself. Totally relate to that and it sucks, right? Like, oh God, that's the worst. I like don't even have words to express it like that. Oh, it's just so bad. Miserable. Truly miserable. Hell on earth. Okay. So as that's happening, it's like my stomach's getting more and more bloated, more and more big. I'm feeling awful about how I look, like awful. Like I can still remember like catching my reflection in I remember the building that I lived in New York had like this big glass window in the front. So if you walked out the building and then walked down, the first thing you see is yourself reflected in the glass. I still remember one morning like that summer, my stomach, I was like, "Oh God," like, really? Just, like, catching that glimpse in the reflection, I'm like, "No, please, God, do not tell me I look 5 months pregnant right now, and I'm leaving the house? Oh God, I hate myself, I'm so humiliated, I hate that there's something so wrong with me." So then it's like doctors, 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 cleanses, supplements. Oh God, so many different probiotics, so many different theories. Like, oh, the problem is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Do all the treatments for that. That does nothing. Okay, okay, fine, fine. So then the problem is a gluten intolerance. There we go. Cut out gluten. Doesn't really work. Okay, fine. It's the dairy. No, no, doesn't work. Okay, fine. Maybe it's nightshades. Okay, cut out nightshades, which is like such a I'm like, what even is that? But I actually do know because I've been down that rabbit hole, so I could tell you exactly what a nightshade is. Um, and then you cut out nightshades, and you're like, nope, it's not that. Uh, a gallbladder issue I thought I had at one point, and that was like one of my lowest lows. And I want to tell this story just so that you know where I've been. um, I did this gallbladder cleanse because the theory was like, okay, there's something wrong with my gallbladder. That's why I have irritable bowel syndrome, and what I need to do is cleanse my gallbladder. So this was like you drink, uh, do not eat for a full day. Just drink apple juice. So the whole day I'm drinking apple juice. And then that night, you mix together 1 cup of lemon juice and 1 cup of olive oil. Mix that all together, drink it down real quick, and then you lay down. I think it was on your right side, whatever it was. It like made sense given like whatever weird theory they were positing on this random part of the internet that I found this cleanse on. But I really believed it was going to work for me. So then you drink this, lay down on your right side, I believe, and try to go to sleep. This was the most disgusting thing. And then the idea, which really did work, is that you then wake up the next day and shit out a bunch of gallstones. Now, I don't know what I shat out, but like they looked the way that the gallstones looked on the disgusting online the images that they showed. Like whatever I pooped out certainly did look like that. Um but did it help? No. as it usually doesn't. So what are you supposed to do? Do it again a month later. And you're supposed to do this 9 months. So I did this once a month for 9 months. And I was so desperate to feel better that I did it. And there I was, sitting on the toilet every morning, shitting out. Like, I mean, this is graphic, but we're here to talk about bodies. We're here to talk about pain. We're here to talk about the way life really is. So I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. I'm shitting. And I know you've been here. Like, whatever your version of this rock bottom is, like, you will relate to mine because you've been here. You understand. So 9 months in a row, sitting on the toilet, shitting out like mucusy material. I don't even know what to call it, with these tiny little pebbles coming out. Disgusting. Totally disgusting. 2 different times, it was so disgusting that I actually vomited, which is like, of course, I mean, you're drinking, you don't eat all day and then you drink olive oil and what was the other thing? Olive oil and lemon juice in mass quantities that night. One time I literally did it at my grandma's house. So me literally vomiting at my grandma's house while I'm quote unquote taking care of her as she was like sick. Oh yeah. That was a rock bottom moment. Definitely a rock bottom moment. And then time goes on. And I found this brain retraining thing that was called it was a brain retraining program called DNRS. Maybe some people are familiar with that. It was honestly, it was partially what I needed, but it was not the whole thing. And my friend introduced me to that. And this was I was just living with like really bad stomach pain, and I still went to work, like I still just like did my life. I wasn't like on disability, or I wasn't like out of like I don't know. I still worked. I guess let me just put it that way. I still worked, but I was struggling every day, all the time, always in pain. Oh God, the symptoms were so bad, and the farting. Geez, like always worried. Like, am I gonna fart? If I fart, is it gonna smell? How bad is it gonna smell? Oh God, do I really have to like? Do I really have to do that here? Can I hold it in? And then my stomach's like gurgling and moving around. I'm like, can everyone see? Oh God, how embarrassing is this? Um, so all that is happening for just like literally years, and there's no solution. I'm like, something's wrong with me and I don't know what it is. And then I found through my friend this DNRS program, which is like brain retraining. The idea is like calm down your brain and nervous system so that you can calm down your physical symptoms. And of course, that is one of the pillars of TMS work. So it helped me. Did that solve the IBS? No. But did it help? Yes. It helped enough that the IBS just became sort of a moderate issue that I still felt every day, but it was like kind of in the background, the same way that my hip pain was. Okay. So we're going to get into talking about the symptom imperative in a later podcast, but for those of you who understand the symptom imperative already, you will understand that so life was going on. I was okay, just sort of like mild to moderate pain in my stomach every day, and always the mild pain in my hip every day. And by this time, all through all these terrible symptoms, I had gone to social work school. I moved back to St. Paul, went to the University of Minnesota, was there for 2 years, got my master's degree in social work, became a therapist, moved back to New York again. Again, treatments, modalities, different doctors. But at the same time, I'm really gaining my sea legs, as you might say, professionally, and learning how to be a therapist. And so life went on despite the fact that I was like so sick. Um, so all right, I do the DNRS program, and my symptoms get like noticeably better, noticeably better. Then the pandemic hits in 2020. So at this point, I'm living with my ex-boyfriend. The two of us had still such a great apartment. I still miss that apartment. We lived in this great apartment, and at the time, work went remote. So suddenly I'm seeing all my clients virtually, which was totally new. I had never done that before. And I had so much time. And I felt I see, okay, I'm gonna share this. I was the kind of freak who, when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God. Because I needed a break so badly. Like, life was stressful, work was stressful. I just felt like I was like forced to go at like 100 miles per hour every day. And I was like, thank God, I just get to stay home and chill and do my work from home. And thank God. Now, at that same time, I was obviously very scared also. I was working for a hospital. They were, I mean, I was scared. People were dying. Like, it was horrifying. It was obviously horrifying. So I was very scared and very relieved all at the same time. Lots of emotions, and something that's important to note, lots of space for emotions that had been kept at bay by my busy, busy, busy schedule. Lots of space for those emotions to start rising, lots of space for me to think and reflect and be more in touch with myself and who I really am and what I really want. And surprise, surprise, when that happened, when the pandemic hit and I was, at home, the hip pain, which had been subtle and in the background. It had always been there, but had been subtle and had been in the background. Suddenly the hip pain becomes excruciating. So bad. Like, every day, like, it's just so bad. And I remember, because like, what I often will do, at what I would do at the time, I would go to the gym. This is before the pandemic hit, because gyms closed. I would go to the gym and just hang off of a bar, just to be like, "Oh, I feel like, my hip, that there's clearly something wrong with, is finally getting stretched out, and it can just, like, pop and crack into the right place, and this will help me feel better." And during the pandemic, there was no gym to go to, no bar to hang from in my apartment. Like, that wasn't really a thing. And I remember trying to hang from so many different surfaces, like putting my hands up on my dresser and lifting myself up just to try to feel like, I just want to feel no pressure on my hip. I just want it to crack. I just want it to like slip into place, because clearly it's out of place. I was thinking so structurally. I was so invested in the reality that something was structurally wrong with my body. And I was like, if I could just lift myself up and get my hip to crack into place, like, this will just go away, right? Like, it must be from sitting. It must be from uh headphones being attached to my laptop as I'm doing my virtual sessions. It must be from something physical that's going on. And none of that helped. None of that helped. And so that was just really bad for like a year or two. And then, then it's like, oh, life's kind of is getting sort of back to normal. The gym opens again, and I like to work out. All of these things that I used to do suddenly were like not accessible to me. Like, I don't know what you call this, but like, whatever kind of like, I don't even know what to call it. But like, the exercises that like involve the back, I was like, oh God, like, I physically can't do that. And like, I've been doing yoga for years, and I've become like very, very flexible, and all these different things that I used to be able to do, I'm like, I can't do that anymore. Like, oh God, like, my body is like shutting down on me. Like, my hip is really fucked up. And then through all of that, I this was such beautiful happenstance. I was talking to, so again, while all these symptoms are going on, it's like I'm still like, I'm still working. Like, I'm still a therapist. All that is still happening. And by this point, I had started a private practice. I was seeing my own clients, just me, no longer working for anyone else. And I was consulting with a therapist friend once a week. So, we would spend an hour a week together. She would talk about, clients that she was stuck with for half an hour, and I would advise her. I would talk about clients that I was stuck with for half an hour, and she would advise me. And there was one client who it was just such Lovely serendipity. A client who I had who had asked me like for journal prompts because she was like I want to like write and I was like journaling like I don't journal prompts like I don't know. So I went to my consultant. I was just like, will you just give me some journal prompts to give to this client? And she was like, oh yeah, for sure. You should actually look into the work of Nicole Sachs because I went to her. She did this whole retreat about chronic pain. I went to the retreat and she has great information about journaling. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. I'll look at the website. And my consultant, my friend, she was like, does the client have chronic pain? And I was like, yeah. How did you know that? And she was like, well, does she have like a trauma history? And I was like, yeah. Well, no. I had actually already said that she had a trauma history. And so my friend was like, well, that's really common for people with a trauma history to have chronic pain. And I was like, well, shit. Like I felt so exposed in that moment because I was like, I have chronic pain, but I don't think it's my emotions. I don't have trauma. My problem is just that something's wrong with my body, right? So I was just at the precipice of finding out an entirely new way to relate to my body and to listen to my body. And so that night, I went to Nicole Sachs's website, and at that time, like, the banner headline of her website was, "The pain is not in your head, but the solution is not in your body." I'm gonna say that one more time because that hits. The pain is not in your head, but the solution is not in your body. I read that and I was like, "Okay, let me get some journaling prompts for my client. All right, done." But wow. I think this is for me. And so I started poking around the website and saw that there were all these stories of people who had cured their chronic pain, people who were not limited, debilitated, miserable anymore, and they had been. I was like, wait, is this possible? Oh my God, is this possible? And that night, I was walking to the gym and, my hip hurt every day all the time at that time. And as I was walking that night, I was like, "Wait, no shit. Like, this is not happening." My hip, it feels looser. Like it physically very clearly felt looser than usual. And I was like, "Oh my God, there's something to this. Wow. There is something to this." So then that launched a whole new worldview. This was October of 2022, and I still remember that because it was October 3rd of 2022. I believe that's accurate, October 3rd. Um, and that I remember that because it launched I mean, that was such a turning point. Like it changed everything for me. And then from there, I learned, XYZ, which I will be talking about in this podcast. We're not going to get into all of that today, but I'll just basically summarize what I learned was number one, there's nothing wrong with my body. I don't have to be afraid of my body. I don't have to be afraid of the pain because pain does not mean there's something physically wrong with your body at the site of the pain. Sometimes it means that, say you got stabbed in your side and your side hurts. Yeah, that's because there's something physically wrong with your body at the site of the pain. Pain is always a danger signal, always, always, always. And what pain from a knife wound would be telling you is like, there's a danger from your knife wound. Not all pain works like that. All pain is a danger signal, but sometimes the danger is emotional. Sometimes the danger is psychological. And when it comes to chronic pain, that's always. I mean, I think basically always. Like it's pretty much always that's the brain conditioning that is emotional, that is psychological. So the first thing I learned was there's nothing wrong with my body. That's shocking. I read Dr. John Sarno's books and realized, wow, maybe there's nothing wrong with my body. Wow. So that was the first thing that was huge. The second thing is that I learned to explore my emotions in a different way. Uh, I really, I learned that I had a lot of repressed feelings, which I did not know. And I want to make this clear. Like, I was a therapist. I spent a lot of time, like, sort of wallowing in my own emotions and thinking about my own emotions, ruminating over my own emotions, and like dealing with other people's emotions. And yet, did I have a whole lot of repressed stuff that I had not thought about and had not fully acknowledged? And still to this day, honestly, there's stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't like dealing with that. Yeah, I have a lot of that. And at first, my defensiveness was like, well, the repressed emotional thing probably doesn't apply to me. And I just want to encourage any of you, if you're in that same mindset, oh, put that down. Like, put that down. Open yourself up and just be like open to the idea that maybe you do have repressed emotions. Because I'm going to say pretty confidently, if you have chronic pain, you do have repressed emotions. I wouldn't even say like be open to it. I would say like it is real. But if you're in the place where being open to it is the next best step, then be open to it. So first, I learned there's nothing wrong with my body. Second, I learned that I have a lot of emotional material I have not processed and dealt with yet, and I have to be brave enough to process and deal with it. And then the third thing I learned, so it's 1, 2, and 3. The third thing I learned is that like I have been so out of tune with myself, so unattuned. Like I learned at an early age, both in my family and in, at St. Mark's School in St. Paul, Minnesota, I learned you can't trust yourself. The little boy who knows how to spell Cinderella is the little boy who's going to get bullied and everyone's going to hate him. Therefore, that little boy can't be you. You can't be yourself because who you are is scary. And so I learned to put myself away and not be myself. And I am still, oh God, still. I mean, I've been doing this 2.5 years now. And I'm still just trying to get back to being in tune with my real self. Like, my God, that is hard. This is why I'm encouraging you from the very beginning of this podcast. I'm encouraging you, listen to yourself. How do you feel when you hear my story? Because if you relate, awesome. Please keep listening, and hopefully I can be a good resource for you, and I can be part of your learning, and I can be part of your healing. If you really connect, allow yourself to connect. If you don't connect, that's okay. Not everyone is for everyone, and that is fine. If we're not a psychic match, allow that to be. Please don't run down a whole rabbit hole of like, oh, I tried Sean Hershey, you know, like I tried that and I really tried to make it work, and I never got it and I never liked it. But like, he says that he healed from chronic pain and he helps other people to heal from chronic pain. So I had to try it. If you don't like it, don't try it. But I do want to, okay, I two things I want to leave you with before we're done. We're getting near the end. Two things I want to leave you with. First, I do want to be clear with the idea that how do I put this? Yes, try different things work for different people. So try different things and see what resonates. Yes. But I really want to encourage you to look under the correct umbrella. Because when it comes to chronic pain and chronic symptoms, I just want to tell you the things under the old school Western medical model, they don't work for chronic pain. I have tried them. My clients have tried them. Other people who, Dr. Sarno has been doing this work. I mean, I think he published his first books in the 90s, maybe the 80s, and had been doing this work for years and years. Before that, he had been doing this work. So many people have tried these methods. I mean, listen to Nicole Sachs's podcast. She has so many wonderful, like miraculous success stories. It's called The Cure for Chronic Pain, if you're not familiar. And so many miraculous success stories. And she, the amount of modalities that people have tried and it just doesn't work for chronic pain. So I do want to say, like, yes, different things work for different people, but please know what umbrella to look under. And for you and me, we are people with chronic pain. I'm speaking from me to you directly. Look under the umbrella of emotional and psychological healing. That's where you should be doing your work. Trying to structurally alter your body is not going to change your chronic pain. Wouldn't it be great if it did? I just want to rewind to my hip story where I'm like, oh, couldn't I just, what if I could just crack it and just like, then it would just slide into place. I still sometimes when my hip is hurting bad, I still will have those moments of like, what if I could just crack it into place? Wouldn't that be awesome? It would. It really would. But you can't. I I want to be the one to give you that like sad but empowering news. You can't. So stop trying. And really, I want to encourage you to look under the umbrella of the emotional and psychological because that is where the good work is done. And that's where people heal from chronic pain. So, okay, that's the first thing. And then the second thing that I want to leave you with is I am so much better. Truly, I'm so much better. My hip pain, like I said, many days it's very chill or I don't have it at all. And that feels like a miracle. I no longer worry about like, can I do this? Can I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? Well, my bad hip, my bad hip. I just do it. And we'll get into. I mean, there's like my life has just become so much more full. I am so much more physically capable. And let me tell you, and stomach, my God, like the stomach has become so chill. Like, we'll get into more about that too. But like, this really helps. It really helps. And I also do want to say that, like, I mean, my stomach, I will get stomach pain every now and then that really does annoy me. And I know it's emotional and I hate that. And I'm like, wow, yeah, like life sucks. And feeling emotion sucks. And not feeling emotion sucks. And feeling them in your body instead sucks. Like, all that sucks. Life is hard. And life can be hard without your body hurting. And I also want to say that, like, it's, like I said at the beginning, I don't want to position myself as like, and now I'm fully over it and everything's perfect because I'm not. And I want to be here with you in like this. I mean, really, like I said, right now I'm sitting here and there's like a tension, like a little feeling in my hip. And I know it's probably because I'm starting this podcast and there's a lot of there's stress that goes into sitting here and talking into this little microphone and letting my story out into the world and knowing this is going to get published and you're going to listen to it. And what are you going to think? And are you going to judge me? And will this help you? You know, is the guidance I'm providing and the connection I'm providing going to be helpful? And I just have to, um, right now, just say to myself, like, yes, it is, just so I can move on and do this. But later, if I need to freak out, like, will I help anyone? Will anyone care? Will this be totally meaningless? Okay, I can entertain those fears, and I'm not scared to. I don't have to just tell myself, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, if everything doesn't feel fine. Because now I'm in the position where I'm like, sometimes things are not fine. And I hate that, but I can tolerate it. And I hope the same for you. So, okay, that is my story. All of the, from the misery, shitting on the fucking, shitting mucus out in my grandma's house. And so from there to success, living a good life. Okay. And in the future, we are going to get into what is TMS and then the different parts of healing, healing psychologically, healing emotionally, and healing by patiently attuning to your true self. And then we're going to get into a lot of other fun topics. So I hope you stick around because really this information is what you need in order to heal. Okay. It's been awesome talking to you, and I will plan to see you next week. All right. Bye.